Chapter 7 is called Stand Your Ground. And as we dive into this chapter, I'm going to give a brief disclaimer. My amazing wife, Kim, has a master's of theology, a teaching degree, education degree, really, really brilliant. Studied the Hebrew and the Greek and loves the scriptures. And she's the one who first found the story about Shema. And I kind of like borrowed her story. She saw the insight of this man who stood in the middle of a field of lentils and fought this battle. And it was so compelling and so intriguing to me that I just had to put it in the book. Because he gives us, I think, the best metaphor for what we need to take on in our life to strike our last arrow. So many of us spend our lives running and running and running. In fact, we don't even know we're running. Running is such a natural part of our lives that we think it's actually standing. There are a lot of ways of running from God, a lot of ways of running from your destiny, a lot of ways of running from your intention. Sometimes you can run by dating the wrong people. You can run by choosing the wrong job. You can run by taking on the wrong career. There's so many ways you can run, and it doesn't look like running to other people, but you know you're running. You know that you're not living the life you were created to live. You know you've not embraced the calling that is on your life. So oftentimes, running can be incredibly subtle. We know we're running from something when we're not running to something. Because we're never supposed to live in ambivalence. We're never supposed to live in this vacuum that has no meaning and no intention in our life. I find it interesting that so oftentimes we're so much more willing to leave something than we are willing to go to something. And Abraham left everything he knew, and he was going somewhere he didn't know, but he was following God into a very, very clear and powerful future. And the real question, I think, in this chapter is, what matters enough to you where you will stand your ground and fight? What matters enough for you where you will stop fitting into the crowd, being absorbed into mediocrity, allowing everyone else to decide what your direction is? There's so many decisions in life I don't really care about making. You know, when I'm in a group and people want to decide what to go eat, I'm pretty accommodating. I don't care if you want to go eat Chinese or if you want to go get pizza or you want to get sushi. I can adjust to a lot of things. And in fact, the reality is that there's a lot of decisions that don't really matter to me. And I think the reason for that is because I know which decisions really matter to me. See, this is not about being dogmatic. This is not about being stubborn. This is not about trying to micromanage life. This is about knowing what actually matters to you. This is about making decisions that give you convictions, that give you a core, that begin to identify who you really are and what you stand for. Shammah stood in the field of lentils, and the best way I can see the story is that everyone kept running. He stopped to turn around and decided, this is where I stand, this is where I fight, and if I need to, this is where I die. It makes sense to me that this was the passage of scripture that so defined my wife, Kim, because she's one of those people who finds her field of lentils. She's the person in our community who leads the way, who took us to the Lebanese border, pressing against Syria, to care for refugees, to do something in the middle of one of the world's most horrific humanitarian crises. She's the one that led the way here in LA, leading Mosaic to become a place of hospice for Syrian refugees as they come to the States. We've embraced the Islamic community because Kim stood in that field of lentils and said, this is where we're going to take a stand. We're in Malawi helping young girls find education and develop the leadership skills necessary, and helping young children move toward an adulthood that gives them freedom and gives them hope. She's the one who spoke to an endless number of tribal leaders. They chose her to speak to them, to all the tribal chiefs. She was, in a sense, our tribal chief speaking in Malawi to their tribal chiefs about a future and a hope. Kim is a person who always finds a field of lentils and takes the stand, said this is worth the fight. For years, she has led her teams to Bangladesh to help young girls be extricated out of the sex trade, children of prostitutes pulled out, given a place to live, given an education, and given a future and a hope. I love the fact that there are places all over the world. People may see deserts or jungles, they may see cities or suburbs, they may see rural communities or port cities, but what we see is a field of lentils, a place where God told us, don't run from this. Stand in the middle of this field, take your stand, and make a difference in the world. Are you only running, or have you found your field of lentils? What is it that defines you? Where will you take a stand? What's worth the fight? What is it in your life that you'll say, no, this is who I am, this is where I stand, live or die, this is my field of lentils?